Good morning. I'm Steve Wolf, Wholesale Marketing Associate at Sprague. Welcome to Sprague's Refined Products Review, where we discuss what's moving the market and the insights we see every day. I'm joined today by Dave Glendon. Dave, welcome to the RP Review.
Thanks, Steve. It's nice to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
Dave, you have been an essential part of Sprague's leadership team for over 20 years now, and until recently, you were our president and CEO. But that changed last year. I was hoping you could walk us through how Sprague is changing and how your role in Sprague leadership is changing alongside it.
We were acquired a couple of years ago by a company called Hartree Partners. And over the last year or so, we've been moving towards a tighter integration with them for a number of the functions at Sprague. And so it became apparent that we didn't need the traditional CEO position anymore, given that a lot of the kind of functional areas had their reporting relationships restructured into the Hartree organization. So at the same time, we were trying to create growth opportunities for additional talented people within Sprague. So I'm now in a kind of nice position where I can lend my support and institutional knowledge to a lot of the things we're doing while not being as directly or intimately involved in the day-to-day commercial operations at Sprague. So it took a little while, candidly, to get comfortable with that dynamic and to not be involved in everything, but it's also been pretty liberating, and it lets me participate in some other things that I haven't had as much exposure to, and I'm learning constantly as we go.
Many of our customers know you, so they'll be glad to know you're still a big part of Sprague.
I'll let them be the judge of that.
So Sprague has pivoted a lot in the past 155 years. When you look back at your time with the company and Sprague as a whole, are there any changes that stand out to you, like things that really shaped our history, gave us a competitive advantage, or helped to define who we are as a company?
Well, I haven't been here the entire 155 years, Steve, but I have been here for a decent chunk of it. And I'd say the consistent theme in our experience over that time period has been wanting to be there to provide the energy services that our customers need to be successful, and being relatively agnostic about what form that energy takes. So it's always been a customer-centric dynamic. And I'd say you learn a lot about a company based on stories that they tell about themselves. And if you consider the stories that exist at Sprague, from serving the Allies in World War I and World War II with coal, to Superstorm Sandy and our colleagues getting on bicycles in floodwaters to serve our customers, to even more recently this past winter, which was a tough winter with incredibly tight supply conditions, the stories we tell are about sacrifices that Sprague people make to serve customers. And I think that's so illustrative of what we've tried to build and what we aspire to be in truly being customer-centric and going above and beyond to meet their needs under trying conditions. That's some of the stuff that I think we should be most proud of and really indicative of who we are as a company.
When you think about your time leading Sprague, what achievements are you most proud of, and could you reflect on some of those?
Sure. I think, when I look back on my career here, what I'm most proud of is the team that we built here. It's just a fantastic team that's learning, growing, engaged with our customers, and committed to our customers. And that goes throughout the organization. I mean, you read so much about lack of engagement in the corporate world these days. And I honestly, maybe I'm just telling myself this or kidding myself, but I honestly think Sprague people are engaged, committed, and like working with one another. And that's something that, I feel really good about, that we've got such an engaged group of folks here. On a more personal level, what I'm proud of in terms of my own accomplishments would be the ability to manage transitions under different ownership structures. So we went from a long-standing owner, Axel Johnson, which is a long, terrific owner for 40 years or so, to getting to take the company public, and then to going back private under Hartree Partners, which is a very different ownership philosophy than Axel Johnson or the public markets. And I have to say I'm proud that I've been able to manage those transitions successfully under those different ownership structures.
And if you had a time machine, you could go back and do something differently, what would that be?
Very good questions here. I think looking back, I wish I had accelerated some of those ownership transitions. So Axel Johnson, terrific owner for long term, but it became apparent towards the end of their ownership structure that they really weren't as committed to investing in and growing Sprague as we would have liked. So I think I would have tried to accelerate both the public company transition, as well as once we were public and we got that experience, and it was terrific, but the public capital markets became less supportive of companies like Sprague. And so I think I could have been faster at moving us towards Hartree as an owner as well. And so those are not fundamental changes, but in terms of the timing of the transitions, I think we could have accelerated those.
Now, looking ahead, where do you see Sprague's leadership going in the future with Karl and Brian at the helm, and what future developments are you excited to see?
I'm very excited about Karl and Brian taking on their new roles as co-presidents. I think the consistent theme between I think it's a nice yin and yang of kind of old Sprague or someone who's grown up within Sprague and someone coming in from Hartree, and there's real relative strengths that each of them bring to the table in that dynamic, and I think the combination is very powerful. I also think they're both, though, the consistency is they're both very focused on growth, which is clearly what our current owner, Hartree Partners, desires from Sprague, which I think is exciting. And Brian and Karl have both embraced that mantle and are, I'd say, pretty aggressively pursuing new opportunities for Sprague, whether it's geographic growth or growth into new business segments. So I'm quite excited about what the future brings for Sprague and what Brian and Karl can do, with their leadership mantle that they now have.
So before we close today, we have a bit of a tradition here on the RP Review. To end our interviews, we like to do some fun rapid-fire questions. Are you ready?
Ready as ever.
Okay. Favorite food?
I'd say pizza, chocolate chip cookies, and IPA to cover all the food groups.
Favorite sports team?
Right now, the Celtics, although a little bit disappointed in their performance last night.
Favorite book or author?
That's a tough one. Not necessarily my favorite, but one I've just started. There's an author by the name of Jim Collins who wrote some great business books, Built to Last, etc. He's written one that's a lot more personal now called What to Make of a Life. And it's about managing transitions and finding your passion for something new at different stages in your career or evolution. And I guess it's meaningful to me because I'm at a transition stage myself. And so it's filled with insight about just finding that next thing that gets you really excited to continue to contribute. So looking forward to reading it. It's early days.
And this one's from Robert. Favorite movie?
It's got to be Caddyshack. Just a classic. Okay. So many great characters and great lines that all of us could probably quote ad nauseum.
And then the best advice you ever received?
Give credit, but take responsibility. So give credit to others for their contributions, but when things don't go so well, take responsibility for it yourself.
And then the last thing, can you add me to your membership at the Wentworth by the Sea?
Well, you're too strong a player, Steve. I like to find people that are not as good a golfer as myself to get out there with. So, but happy to be a sponsor for you, Steve.
That's all I needed. Well, I think we're out of time, Dave. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
And thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next Wednesday with another Refined Products Review. Refine your insight.
Fuel your success.
Before we close today, we have a bit of a tradition to end our interviews with some fun. Rapid fire question.
This hasn't been fun already?
Well, I think we're out of time, Dave. Thanks for joining me today.
Shucks.
We need to get Dave in here more often. This is so much fun.
He seems to have more time on his hands.
I got a lot. What are you doing the rest of the afternoon, Steve?
I do this about an hour a day, twice a week. So if you want to get into it, we can.